We are days away from Doctor Who Flux hitting our screen, so in this video I'm going to talk about my 7 hopes for the series. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume. If you are a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that that includes things like the MCU, Star Trek, Red Dwarf, and of course Doctor Who. Big Doctor Who fan here. You'll also know, if you're a regular listener, that the view looks slightly different. I'm trying out the wide-angle lens on my phone. What do you think? Does it work? I'm not sure. I've got the camera a hell of a lot closer to me and it's a bit weird, I gotta say. Also, you can see more of my bed. But on the plus side, you can see more of this fabulous artwork, which previously, as I had it framed before with the other lens, you could only see the bottom of. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you prefer this or you prefer my old lens view. Let me know anyway. Let's get on with the video. So I've tried to keep this as things that we don't already know for certain are happening. There's lots of things that I had hoped for this series pre-knowing about it, like the fact that it is serialized. I've been wanting a Doctor Who series to be serialized for so long, and yes, we've got it. Amazing, very happy about that. But we know about that already. That's definitely happening. These are things that we don't know for certain going in only a couple of days before the series. So things that I still hope we get. The first one I'm going to go with is tying up the Timeless Child arc. Now, I will give this one a little bit of leeway. I don't mind if it spills over into the specials a little bit. It does need to be tied up nicely by the end of Chibnall's run, I think, though. Now, by that, I absolutely don't mean that it's all revealed to be a dream or retconned out or anything like that, but tie it up in a nice way that we get a nice resolution, that we are, I'm not going to say content because I know not everybody likes this idea, but it feels narratively that it's been tied up. I can't think of another word to say other than that. That we get a resolution to it in some form, that the Doctor gets some answers. It can leave some mystery. I think the Doctor should always have some mystery there about her past, about their past, and this whole Timeless Child thing has created so much more mystery about where the Doctor is really from, if indeed the Doctor is the Timeless Child. I mean, I still think Chibnall might have a few twists up his sleeve for this whole arc. What I want, though, and what I hope Chibnall will do, is that he won't have changed it of what he was planning just because of reactions and from the audience. I kind of want him to stick to whatever he originally planned. Come hell or high water, let's see what his vision for it originally was, and then tie it up in such a way that the next showrunner, Russell T Davies, doesn't have to deal with any of it necessarily, but doesn't have to retcon it. I don't want Russell T Davies to go, no, let's throw all that out, but I also don't want him to have to keep referring to it. Sort of like, in a way, the Time War kept on having to be referred to past Russell's era, which I didn't mind, but it needs a kind of clean break between eras, I think, this time, where all of the ramifications for the Doctor's character and how it affects her need to be tied up by the end of this series. So she needs to have dealt with it emotionally and everything, so that the next Doctor can move on and not have to be and it not be strange that they aren't constantly wondering about it or searching out more answers. My second thing is that Yaz needs some much needed development. Now, we've had little hints, a bit more last series than we had in Series 11. Series 11, Yaz felt very much to the wayside of the other two because Brian and Ryan had their whole personal arc with, Grace dying and dealing with that, and Yaz kind of felt a bit like a third wheel in Series 11. She got a bit more to do in Series 12. In particular, Can You Hear Me was a fantastic episode for her. But we've only really got these little, hints at what her deal is, what kind of her personal arc could be for travelling with the Doctor. We got a little bit more of that in in whatever the second Dalek special was. What was the last special called? And as the only carryover from the original fam, I think there's space for her to do this. There's going to be less companions this time. I mean, unless you're counting Vinder, maybe, but he's more of a... I feel he's going to be more of a hop-in, hop-out type character, rather than a travelling with them companion. So there's only really her and Dan that are going to be travelling with the Doctor, so I think there's space there. We obviously do still need space to explore Dan's personal story, and there's been hints there that he will have one and that he's going through something, some big change in his life. Looking forward to seeing what that is as well. I don't want him to be neglected, but I also want there to be room to really explore down into Yaz's character and what drives her this series, which we've only sort of gotten little tidbits about before. Number 3 is kind of something I want them not to do. I don't want them to overload the episodes. This is a serialized story, and as a consequence, we're going to get characters being in multiple episodes. And we know we're going to have the Weeping Angels, we know we're going to have the Sontarans, we know we're going to have the Ood, well, at least a Ood in an episode, we know we're going to have the Cybermen. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different previous enemies of the Doctor in this serial that is only going to be 6 episodes. Just from the trailer alone, we've seen loads of them, and there are hints that potentially we're going to get the Sontarans, the Weeping Angels, and that dog creature, which I can never remember the name of, begins with K, all in the first episode in some degree. And there is a risk there of, well, let's call it Spider-Man 3 syndrome, of overloading with villains a bit too much, to the point where none of them get enough development. I don't think they're going to go down this route, but I just want to put it out there as a caution, not that I hope they don't do this, and hope they don't fall prey to Spider-Man 3 syndrome, that they balance it nicely. We know the Sontarans are going to be in the second episode as the main... They're in the title of the second episode, so that's kind of probably going to be their main episode. So I think possibly they're just going to be in the first one as a kind of setup to that, leading up to that. Similarly with the Weeping Angels, I've heard things about there being a main Weeping Angels episode later, and that possibly they're in the first episode to basically be set up for that, where they might transport a secondary character to the past, and then we're going to get the result of that later on, which I think is brilliant in setting up the serialized nature of the show. And if they do that, that would then leave time for the dog creature to be the kind of focus, or possibly the dog creature and something else to be the focus. But it won't be too bad. My 4th hope is that we get a bit more of a colourful palette. One thing I've loved about the marketing of the whole Chibnall era is that it has been bright, vibrant, very, very vibrant, bright colours. And I love that. And when we were going to Series 11, I was really looking forward to that being incorporated into the series. Now, the Chibnall era is very cinematic in its visuals in many ways, and I do appreciate that. But I think somewhere in the colour grading, they could have gone a bit more poppy with the colours and made them really vibrant. They've got a lot of, in the trailer, again, they look a bit muted, but there's a lot of greens, a lot of purples, a lot of these colours that could pop. And I think because we've seen the trailer, we kind of already know a little bit about what the show's going to look like, and it does look beautiful, gotta say, but I just like it to pop a bit more. Does that make sense? Number 5, this is a bit of an out there one. Kind of want to see the return of the Stenza. I think the Stenza was set up as reoccurring bad guys in the series. They were going to be they were going to be Chibnall's recurring bad guy. If you look in Series 11 how they were used, it's kind of very much, they are the focus in many ways. Even though they were only kind of mentioned in 3 episodes, and it's not a big story arc. You get Tim Shaw in the first episode. You get them finding a Stenza outpost in the second episode where Stenza weapons were developed. And in the final episode, you get Tim Shaw's return. I feel like that was setting up something that was never paid off, and I don't know if that was Chibnall changing his plans, or if that maybe was never his plans, or maybe his plans were to set them up in that and then use them in this series. It's all possible. But I kind of feel like even though Tim Shaw wasn't necessarily as loved as possibly he could have been, especially I think because of that last episode. I think he was absolutely fine in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. He was a good villain in that. I think he was underused in the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos. But I think there's some space there for the species, if not Tim Shaw himself, to come back. And given that in the Ghost Monument, it is the remnants, these fluttering bits of tattery things that are some kind of weapon developed by the Stenza, that we first heard of the Timeless Child, there's some kind of link there. How did these things find out about this to then say that to the Doctor?
We see deeper though, further back, the Timeless Child.
I think there's a link there. I think they could be involved in it. I'm not saying they're going to be. I don't think they probably will, but I kind of would like there to be. I'd like to see the return of it. It would also feel like a nice rounding up of his era, because it started with the Stenza in that first episode. If it can be involved in the last series as well, I think that would cap it quite nicely. 6. Let's get Unit back. Let's get Kate Stewart back. Kate Stewart, I've said this in previous hoping for what's going to happen in the series. Kate Stewart was first originated, well, this version of Kate Stewart was first originated in a Chibnall episode, The Power of Three, in Matt Smith's era. It makes sense that he brings her back. Come on. I mean, I know he got rid of her and the whole of Unit, but we've heard rumours about them coming back for a while, and I would really like it to be this series, or at least the specials. Several of these hopes can roll into the specials. I won't be too disappointed if they're in the specials rather than the series. But I do want to see Unit again. I think it's overdue. I think it could set up nicely. I definitely want them back for RTD's era. And there's potential with him RTD talking about spin-offs and things in previous interviews, that's a potential spin-off. Come on, Unit. Let's get them back now, though. Let's get Kate in there. Let's see what they've been up to and all that sort of stuff. And finally, I want Dan to stay with the Doctor past the end of Doctor Who Flux and into the specials. I don't necessarily feel the same about Yaz. I kind of feel like there could be, well, one of two things here. There could be a break. I kind of feel like there could be a space there where she's not travelling with anyone, and therefore that gives the gap for the expanded universe, the books, the comics and stuff, the big finish when she eventually does it to fit into. But also she could, Yaz could decide to stay behind, or something could happen to her, maybe. Who knows? Maybe we're due a companion death. I said that last time as well. But Dan maybe could stay on for the specials. I don't know what I think he was around for the filming of the specials. So, yeah, that could work too. Maybe if he stays for the 2 specials, and then she's on her own for the Centenary special, that would be the way to work it out best. But look, that's just my 7 hopes for the series. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. And I will be here with weekly reviews, hopefully most of the time on a Sunday night, for the new series for the next 6 weeks. So do join me for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video and all that jazz. See you soon for talking more about Doctor Who Flux. Goodbye.